All right, guys. I made yesterday a video about this trade, Luka AD trade, and my instant reaction and what I thought. I thought it was a good trade for both because the Mavericks were in a 3-year spot to win it all. And if Luka isn't healthy, and if Luka can't make it back this year healthy, um, that was going to be an issue because Kyrie is getting older, Clay's getting older, right? And you need these guys to be healthy for a good playoff push for a championship run. And that was the problem. But then I thought about it, right? And also because Luke they didn't know if Luka was going to sign the super max with Dallas and maybe go to LA or Miami or somewhere that wanted to be that he wanted to go, right? Because he wanted to test free agency, see what the market was like, even though he was going to get a super max in Dallas. And they didn't want to have a LeBron decision 2010 where they get nothing in return for a generational top 2 player in the NBA, right? Even though LeBron was the best player in the NBA at the time. So that was the issue. But then I slept on it. First, I jerked off, and then I slept on it, right? And I realized when I woke up this morning, this is one of the worst trades I've ever seen in my life. Why is that? So the Lakers obviously get an A plus for this trade. The Lakers 100% won this trade. There's no question about it. Don't be a moron. Oh, but look how scary the Dallas Mavericks lineup is. It doesn't matter how scary it is. If they don't win a championship, it's a bust because they gave up the number 2 or number 1 player in the NBA today. This guy, Luka, took Kyrie Irving shooting 40% from the field in the playoffs and a bunch of scraps, right? Lively is a scrap. Daniel Gafford is a scrap. Washington is a scrap. These guys are just pieces, a bunch of nobodies. And he took them to the finals against Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and Porzingis and Holiday. Like that, and he took them to the finals with that team. I know they didn't perform well in it, but that just shows that is like that Luka run was almost as good as 2007 LeBron run. Like that was insane what he did. So you have to understand that. You have to put that in perspective, right? So another thing, Luka has a Nico Harrison, right? This moron GM who didn't sign Jalen Brunson, right, for the Mavericks, even though Jalen Brunson wanted to come back with the Mavericks. He didn't want to sign Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson took a really bad contract to the Knicks, as in bad as in cheap, right? You got and they got Jalen Brunson. Everybody was questioning the move. Why the hell you get Jalen Brunson? This and that. Knicks obviously showed what they were doing. They know what they're doing, and they get rid of him. They get Kyrie Irving. They trade Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie for Kyrie Irving. End up being a good trade for them, but they could have had Jalen Brunson still with those guys, but they didn't. Nevertheless, Luka Doncic, he left the team. The guy is, unless he didn't want to resign, this was a crazy trade. But even if he didn't want to resign, you have to understand the overhaul, what happened in recent memory. So there was a trade 4 years ago, right? Pre-pandemic. 5 years ago now. God, maybe 6 years ago. Pre-pandemic, there was a trade. It was Paul George from the OKC Thunder to the Clippers. The Thunder got 7 first-round picks for Paul George and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who no one knew he was going to be a top 5 player in the NBA, but everybody thought he was going to be maybe a top 10 point guard where he's like a De'Aaron Fox scoring 23, 22, getting 6, 7 assists. Everybody thought De'Aaron Fox probably averaged more than that, but everybody thought he was going to be that type of player. But no one knew he was going to be a 30-point per game scorer, just an absolute force. No, no Ali LaForce, but nobody thought that, right? And this is what they got for him. This is what they got for him right here. Look at this. Take a look at this. Look at this. This is what they got for them. So they got the Clippers got Paul George. They gave up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, and 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and Miami's 21, 23 picks, first round picks, all for Paul George. The reason why both teams won this trade, because you have to understand, usually whoever gets the best player wins the trade, right? DeMarcus Cousins to the Pelicans. Who do they get besides him? I think, who did they get besides him? It was Buddy Hield, right? Buddy Hield and DeMarcus Cousins for somebody. I'm gonna look that trade up right now. DeMarcus Cousins, Buddy Hield trade. Who do they get in exchange? They they traded Buddy Hield away, Tyreek Evans, and Langston Galloway, and 1 first-round pick. And they got Cousins. And Cousins was a force for the Pelicans, right? For a whole year or two towards Achilles, unfortunately. Okay. And then that's just the problem. So we need to realize that the player that has the best, the team that has the best player getting traded to them wins. Carmelo Anthony. When De'Aaron Fox gets traded, it's gonna be De'Aaron Fox unless he gets traded for something big. Like it's just what it is. Jimmy Butler to the Sixers. Jimmy Butler to the Timberwolves. Usually, the best player being traded wins the trade because it's hard to find that good of players in the NBA. There's always room for role players, but not for generational or best players in the NBA. So that's just what we have to understand. But you have to know that the Mavericks, if they don't win, their team is literally garbage. It's useless. They have 3-year window. Anthony Davis almost out of his prime. Kyrie Irving almost out of his prime or is out of his prime. Like you have to understand that. If they don't get a championship, it's a bust. And you have to understand too, it's a business. Luka Doncic, he sells tickets, right? Can we just put some highlights of Luka? I just want to see some highlights of this guy. Doncic highlights. I just want to see some highlights of this guy. This guy, he shows how good he is, right? He shows that he is an absolute monster night in and night out. He scored 70 last year. And they got rid of him because they were concerned about conditioning or whatever. No, you were concerned that he was going to leave. That's what it was. Just be honest. If you have to be honest, you were concerned he was going to leave. Even though Luka didn't say anything about leaving, he didn't even know a trade was happening. He was stunned, he said. And LeBron's a liar. LeBron's like, oh, I didn't know anything about it. Even though Rich Paul, his best friend, runs basically every single is basically an agent to every single big time NBA player, including Anthony Davis. And you're telling me he didn't know? That's insane. Because Anthony Davis was listed out an hour before the game yesterday. If you didn't know that, people already speculated he wasn't going to play, but it wasn't official until an hour before the game. So he was planning on playing because on ESPN, he wasn't even listed on the report that he was going to be out until an hour before the game. And usually the Lakers, they announce their players out in the morning. And that day they assumed that they just said, oh, Anthony Davis is out an hour before the game. So already something was up. That's why I realized, right? So you have to understand that Nico Harrison's a moron. He got rid of Jalen Brunson. They got Kyrie Irving. Okay, they went to the playoffs with a bunch of bums, with Luka and Kyrie with a bunch of bums. And Luka's proven to win champion. He can not win championships, but he can prove he can get there if you put better pieces around him. Right? You just need a piece. And for people that saying that Lakers, like, oh, how is him and LeBron gonna fit? Who gives a fuck how LeBron's gonna fit? Luka is the guy now. If Luka said, "Hey, trade LeBron. I don't want his bitch ass anymore," they're gonna trade LeBron. That's how much Luka means to the Lakers now. Luka is the Lakers, and for the next 10 years, he will be. And don't worry about his weight. He'll go on a vegan diet in LA, right? Ride his bike down freaking Santa Monica. You know, he's gonna do all that stuff. He's gonna be skinny again. He's gonna be good, even though the weight helps him. It doesn't matter. Luka Doncic shows that he can win with a bunch of nobodies and go to the finals. If you put somebody in the Lakers that was going to help him, even LeBron, because LeBron has to fit his game towards Luka. Luka doesn't have to fit his game towards LeBron. It's different. So when you find that second or third guy, maybe not in free agency via trade or something, for the Lakers, maybe hopefully via free agency, you'll get your championship. And Lakers have been winning every decade. 2020 they won, 2010 they won, 2009 they won. Besides the 90s, they didn't win because it was dominated by Michael Jordan. But they went to the finals in the 90s. In the 80s, they won. In the 70s, they won. They win every decade. So telling me Luka's not going to win a championship, you're insane. Luka's going to win a championship with the Lakers. You can come back to this video and tell me that I'm right. So that's just what it is. Anthony Davis, if he doesn't get traded, if he doesn't get traded, the Lakers were going to go nowhere. Lakers were going to sell tickets if LeBron gets canned, because remember, Anthony Davis was a loser on the Pelicans. He never won. I think he played Portland and lost. He played the Warriors and lost. He was just a loser in Portland. In New Orleans, he was just a loser there, and he barely made the playoffs. He needed to be the number 2 guy on a team, and now he's the number 1. The Lakers aren't good enough. It shows. They get bounced out by Denver Nuggets every single year, and that just shows it. So this is a great trade. So Laker fans, stop complaining about Anthony Davis, please. Anthony Davis was always hurt. He barely plays. He's good some games. He's inconsistent other games. Like, I'd rather have a guy that scores 70 and 30. I look at Luka and I look at his box score and I'm like, bro, this guy played really bad today. He only had 28 points. That's how I look at Luka. When I see AD at 28 points, I'm like, damn, he played outstanding today. That's the different type of player right there. That just shows how you could say, oh, Luka plays no defense because Nico Harrison said, oh, defense wins championships. This guy's a fat fuck. Whatever he said, don't believe that, dude. Don't believe that. He's just saying that to freaking show that he's trying to save face and like, oh, this is the reason why I traded him. No, you traded him because you couldn't even get back next year, and that's exactly what happened. And LeBron James lying, saying that he didn't know AD wasn't gonna get traded is insane. I don't know why he would lie about that. Obviously to save face with AD and his friendship, but everybody knows that's a lie. So don't believe anything you guys hear. Thank you guys. Like and subscribe. This is my reaction. Remember, Dallas Mavericks allowed an F in this trade. This was an awful trade for the Dallas Mavericks. A+ for the Lakers. Unless Dallas Mavericks win the championship. Like and subscribe.